My wife gave birth to a black baby that clearly isn't mine, and I'm divorcing her. But I'm worried about the relationship between my two kids and their new half-sister. My wife gave birth to a black baby girl a month ago. Because we're both white, she had no choice but to disclose that the kid was the product of a one-night fling last year. I've initiated divorce procedures, but we're still living together for the time being. With our two sons, ages 2 and 4, my paternity tests for them coming back positive, her baby daughter, and her job lost due to COVID, living together as pleasantly as possible until the divorce is finalized is a sad necessity. Naturally, I have no ill will toward the infant, but I've been appalled by some of the remarks I've heard from family members, friends, colleagues, and others, all of whom seem concentrated on the racial aspect of this. As though the most significant aspect of this isn't that my wife strayed, but that she cheated with a black guy and had a black kid. What scares me the most is that my two boys could pick up on these stories. They're too little to really comprehend what's going on right now, but I'm concerned that when they have a better understanding of the situation, they'll come to hate their half-sister for breaking up their parents' marriage. Worse, under the influence of the aforementioned racist myths, their animosity may manifest itself in a racist manner. Any ideas on how I should attempt to persuade my kid to change his mind? It definitely doesn't help that we live in a suburb with few black people, and my children's half-sister is the only black person they know. Update. The most important lesson for me was that if I had to lead by example here, I would not exclude her in any manner because of her paternity, so that she and my boys would perceive her as a complete part of the family. Also, in order to protect their sister, I need to be more active in fighting the racist and stupid rubbish I've been hearing, and I need to encourage my kids to do the same. I've talked to some of those responsible subsequently and made it plain that she is to be regarded like a part of the family, and that if I ever find out that they said anything like that to my boys or their sister, they would no longer be permitted near us. I've spoken to my wife about it, and we're pretty much on the same page. She's been pleading with me to forgive her and avoid the divorce, but that's not going to happen. Even if I didn't think her adultery was inexcusable, I simply don't feel any love for her anymore, other than platonic admiration for her as my children's mother. My boys are handling the situation well. The 4-year-old does not really comprehend, but is distressed by the shift in the home. Fortunately, he is readily distracted. Thankfully, the 2-year-old is too little to understand what's going on, but he has seen how reclusive his mother has become. They're both enthralled with their new baby sister, so there's that silver lining. My wife, on the other hand, is in terrible form. She was sad before the delivery, and now that everything has come to light, our divorce, her adultery being disclosed, and the anger from family and friends, PPD, and the stress of parenting an infant, hardly she's functioning. She's seeing a therapist, and I've been pleading with some of our relatives and friends to be supportive of her because, even if they believe she deserves it, her present condition is making things difficult for me and our children. It's become clear to me that even when the divorce is official, we'll have to cohabitate for a little longer. She's in no condition to care for 3 children on her alone, and I'm not willing to deprive her of her boys by requesting sole custody. It's also too challenging financially since she lost her work due to COVID. The newborn girl, on the other hand, is healthy and relatively simple to care for by infant standards. I've connected with her since I've been assisting with her care, and my wife and I have explored the prospect of adopting her. She is unable to contact the father since all she knows about him is his first name. And, given our co-parenting arrangement, it seems like adopting her as my daughter would be the greatest conclusion for everyone involved, but there's a snag in that plan. It was brought to my notice that there could be a possibility to discover the baby's father, which is to get her DNA analyzed by Ancestry DNA. If his father or a relative has already done the test, we may be able to track him down using the DNA match database. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm not thrilled about this. I've already begun to consider the newborn girl to be my daughter, and having him in our life would significantly disrupt the family dynamic. Plus, we live in Seattle, and he met her in Philadelphia, so I'm not sure how they'd make it work if he wanted to be the child's father. But I realize that this is a self-serving response. If we have a possibility of locating her biological father, we owe it to her to do so, if only so she may access her paternal medical data and establish a connection with him if she so desires. I've read a few tales of children raised by non-biological parents, and the yearning to see their lost biological parent is a frequent theme, so there you have it. We've purchased an Ancestry DNA kit for her, and I'm guessing we'll determine what to do next once we receive the findings in a few months. Story 2. How I found out he was cheating. It's a lengthy tale, but it's intriguing. I was with my ex for 9 months before I realized something wasn't quite right. My ex would vanish for hours at a time. I would call and contact him but received no response. He'd then text me and make up stupid reasons for why he hadn't contacted me. My ex used to spend a lot of time away with his family. What struck me as odd was how seldom I heard from him throughout these periods. I'd simply receive a text saying he had a hard day, that he was going to bed, and that he'd contact me in the morning. I never grumbled since, after all, he was spending time with his family. At the start of our relationship, I met one of his relatives who was moving to Sweden to become a pilot. 9 months later, he informed me that his father was pressuring him to go to Sweden with his cousin to pursue the same pilot's course. I wondered why your father would suddenly encourage you to relocate to another nation to accomplish something you'd never shown an interest in doing. My ex worked as a function object native code. As a result, I felt that was ridiculous. Anyway, the night before his trip to Sweden, I invited him to stay the night with me, since he was departing and I would probably never see him again. It was a Thursday night, and I usually depart on Friday mornings to spend the weekend with my father. I had awoken before him and wanted to check the time. Because my phone was entirely dead, I took my ex's phone, which was turned off. I attempted to switch on his phone, and it did. His uncle had sent him a message stating, "I can't wait to meet you, sweetie." What the was I thinking? Why would his uncle be speaking in such a manner? When I woke him up and questioned him about it, he stated his uncle was just being a clown and mucking about like that. I responded, "No, I'm sorry, I don't think so, but you may contact him and show to me that it is your uncle." As usual, he offered every excuse under the sun. He had to contact his father first, and then he had to go since he was going to be late for his flight. I was in a hurry since my father was due to arrive any minute. His new excuse is that his phone was going to die and he couldn't make any calls. "That's okay," I replied. Because I got a charger, I handed him the charger, and he requested me to grab him a cup of water. So I went to the kitchen, fetched him drink, and returned. My charger was damaged when I glanced at it. The cable that was linked to the block was severed. "What happened to my charger?" I exclaimed. He said that my dog chewed it. My dog did not chew anything. He went with me to the kitchen, and he has never chewed anything he was not supposed to. So my ex gets up and walks away. I offered him one more opportunity to show me who had texted him. He ignored me and went away. This is supposed to be the final time I see him. He had no idea I had written down the number to call myself if he didn't. So he goes, and I go to my father's. He then sends me a screenshot of a conversation he had with a friend in which he asked, "Why did you send me that message now my GF doesn't trust me?" His friend replied, "Sorry bro, I didn't think it would be taken seriously." Now I knew he was lying because it went from his uncle to now being his friend. I explained that to him, and he replied he calls his buddy uncle since he is older than him and it's a sign of respect. I was so sick of everything around me that I dialed the number myself. Well, it was a woman who responded. I wasn't taken aback. I inquired as to who she was and how she knew my ex. She said that they had been dating for 3 months and that they were going away together. All these times he stated he was leaving with his family, he was with her. The tale about Sweden was so he could go with this new female. At this time, I was out of wrath. I wished her well and warned her that he would do to her what he did to me. Surprisingly, it took me a week to recover. It was the most difficult week of my life, but I wasn't going to put myself through that. What do you know, 3 months later, he's returning to visit his family and wants to see me as well. I decided to go along with it. I sent all of the screenshots to his girlfriend a few minutes before he left to come visit me.